be a teenager in the late 90s. Just moved to BFE in rural Texas with my mom and little sister. 10 to 15 miles from closest town in any direction, all of which are tiny as fuck, less than 100 people. Only 3 neighbors for miles. Area is almost completely woods, interspersed with a few cattle pastures or corn/wheat fields. Start doing odd jobs for the neighbors to make some cash to buy vidya. One of the neighbors, a 90-year-old guy who's lived there his whole life, tells me there's a lake hidden in the woods and that it's a good fishing spot. Next day decide to go exploring and see if I can't catch some dinner at the lake. Pack Junior in no woods kit. Backpack, fishing gear, a day's rations, flashlight, hatchet, machete, 22 LR for plinking, and a few other odds and ends. Set out in woods adjacent to my house in direction of lake. About an hour of cutting my way through the brush I come across a well-worn trail. Figure this must lead to the lake, so I follow it. It's a bit grown up, but obviously trafficked fairly regularly. It doesn't take long to realize that it's leading away from the direction of the lake. Being the curious adventurer I am, I decide to see where it leads anyway. Figure it'll probably just dump me out in some back pasture. About a half hour later the trail comes to small clearing with an abandoned cabin in it. Place is old, in the process of being reclaimed by the woods. Lopsided from being partially sunken into the ground on one side. What was once obviously a stone chimney is now a pile of rocks. Walked around to the front and there's a 2-foot stone goat statue on a large tree stump near the door. What the fuck? Start getting a leery feeling, but write it off as my imagination. Door is gone from the cabin, so I decide to poke around inside. Sun filtered in through cracks and holes in the ceiling, but it was still too dark to see well. Turned on my flashlight and went in. Trash and dried blood fucking everywhere. Rusty axe laying on the floor also covered in dried blood. Edges caked in God knows what, but I distinctly see a clump of hair. Nope, the fuck outta there faster than Usain Bolt. Stuck mostly to the same trail back, but cut through the woods in a few places. On the way out caught a whiff of rotting corpse. Running on absolute terror and adrenaline. Cut to shit by the time I made it out of the woods. Mom didn't believe me when I told her the story. She said, it was probably animals. No animal did that. Asked the same neighbor about the cabin a few days later. He told me nobody had lived there in decades. Still don't know what the fuck down there, the closest town and all its inhabitants were strange. Like Lovecraft strange. Not fish people, but you didn't see a single person outside ever. There were no kids playing in the yards. They had a small grocery/general store that was always open but only the clerk was ever there. Same thing with the library and the hardware store. This was pre-internet, and they didn't have cable. You couldn't even reliably pick up UHF/VHF television. Half the homes in town had bars on the doors and windows. There were no churches. None. Do you know how strange it is to be in the rural South and there not be at least one church in town? I've lived in unincorporated communities of less than 50 people and they had 2. I currently live in a town of roughly 200, and there's 5. Hello/X/. I usually don't post a lot here, but I am stuck in lockdown and am bored to death, so I might share something I got. I've got a real weird story that happened to me a while back, but I didn't realize how fucking weird it was back then. First up, some context. B18. French. Try suicide. Fail. Somehow graduate high school. My parents and I decide that I'll be taking a gap year. I get sent to my uncle. My father is originating from the Alps, a very hilly region not far from Switzerland. My uncle, father's brother, lives there all year long as a sort of mountain ranger but French. His job is to check that the tourist hiking paths are safe, the forest is safe and that no weird stuff happens at the border. End of context. Now for the story. In mid-December. Almost the ski holidays. Chilling inside the cabin with my uncle. Someone comes on the radio. Apparently someone is stuck somewhere not far off from a path in our area. The rescue helicopter is busy, the area is somewhat dangerous for the helicopter anyways, and the reported location isn't very far off. Get in the pickup and start going where we are supposed to go. As I trekked a lot around the Alps and know the area quite well, I recognize the place we get to the location. Nobody there. We split off looking for him, and we call the rescue team if we don't in under 20 minutes. I found the man in some small cave or small rocky formation. The dude is visually fine, but for whatever reason he's aggressive to me. He sits there, his ass on the rock and feet in the snow mumbling shit. Notice that the small rock formation forming a somewhat deep cave is weird as hell. I don't have the time to investigate, I call my uncle and we get the stretcher out. He is somewhat resisting, but not really, almost like he is tetanized, still mumbling weird shit. My uncle gives him absinthe, a strong alcohol. He calms down. We still don't know why he is stuck here, but we decide to radio that we have him and that we are going to the hospital. Remember an old geezer in the village telling me that the place I was in was cursed. Didn't think a lot about it but creeped out now that I think back on it. Fast forward 7 months, June. Hiking in the same general area. Decide to go at that weird place to rest and eat. It's 12 p.m. solar and the sun is hitting hard. Go there. The cave is indeed weird, it is probably 7 to 8 foot deep, about 2 meters deep for no Americans. Bones inside, probably not human judging by their size, maybe something like a fox. Weird paintings on the wall, but too old/worn out to distinguish anything clearly, could be a humid water formation or just the rocks being weird. Rest here for some time. Basically big void in my memory. Only remember a few moments but remember them with my brain all scrambled up and hurting real bad. Wake up in my bed. Apparently I came back from my hike 2 hours late, aggressive, mumbling weird shit and heading straight for bed. I tell my uncle I went to that weird place the hitchhiker went to a few months back. Don't think a lot of it, back then I thought it was the sun, heat or fatigue, but at that point I am very used to all of these factors. Few months goes by. Back to normal life. Make the link between the two stories. Fucking creeped out. I'm not going back to that cave. God fucks know what is there, but that elder was goddamn right. Thoughts? Me being weird, or is the place actually haunted? Any similar experience?